The FBI is offering a $50,000 reward for any information leading to the arrest of an alleged anti-ICE rioter who appeared to fire a gun at law enforcement officers in California. Take a look at the lower right of your screen there. The guy in the spot shadow with what appears to be a gun in his hand. This as President Trump rips into Democrat senators for introducing a bill that would require immigration agents to remove face coverings and present IDs while on the job. Let's bring in the former acting director of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, Jonathan Fahey. What do you think of this bill that Senator Booker and Padilla introduced?
It's entirely nonsense and just an effort to continue to demonize ICE and ICE agents. You've seen a lot of these floating around in state legislators as well to basically prevent ICE agents from being masked. But I think the important point is the reason they are masked is because if their identities were revealed, they and their families would be put in danger. And it's also important to know ICE is not the only agency that does this. It's very common in local law enforcement, other areas where the agents, if their identities are revealed, would be put in danger. It would be a lot better if these senators were doing things, maybe speaking out against some of their colleagues that call ICE agents Nazis and terrorists and things like that to try to tone down the rhetoric rather than trying to ratchet it up. But the bill is pure nonsense. It has zero chance of passing, but it's just, one of the senators behind it is just trying to continue his 5 minutes of fame that he gained a few weeks ago. But other than that, it's nonsense, it's harmful, and they really need to tone down the rhetoric on this.
Yeah, when you've got American citizens who are working for American law enforcement agencies and some of the people at the highest level of government start calling them Nazis, we've taken a pretty strange turn, it would seem.
Yeah, that has to be I hope that's the lowest it can get, but I can't see how it even gets any lower. And things like this would have never even been done even 10 and 20 years ago. And now it's commonplace for this to happen. And ICE agents are called the worst names. Their motives are questioned. And what's really important to note, and I know you and your viewers all know this, but they're only doing a job they're required to do, enforcing the laws that were passed by Congress. And President Trump is also doing what he's required to do. The fact that the Biden administration was completely derelict in their duty doesn't mean that has to carry over into the Trump administration. And some of these lawmakers, they want open borders, but they don't have the political courage to actually put a bill on the House, on the Senate floor, and ask people to vote on it because they know it stands no chance. So instead, they try to obstruct ICE and everything else to achieve their aim of essentially an open borders, mass amnesty world.
Meantime, there is a judge in California appointed by former President Biden who issued this injunction saying ICE cannot use race or language or location as determiners of people that they stop. What do you say about that, Jonathan?
This judge is entirely wrong on the substance, but also this is a tremendous overreach for a couple of reasons. But on substance, ICE is already bound by the law, which they can use a totality of the circumstances, all the facts they observed to make detentions. They don't need any reason to go up to somebody and talk to them and interview them, but that's already the law. This judge didn't need to invoke it or have an injunction or TRO. Every time somebody gets stopped, if it's unlawful, they have the opportunity to either sue or, if it's a criminal case, raise that in the context of their case. So this judge just made a point for no reason. But there's a couple of things that are really harmful about this. The first is she basically told ICE, one, they have to turn over documentations about arrests and other things to the ACLU, no less, because that's who represents the plaintiffs on this case. So it's essentially the ACLU and this judge think they should dictate how and when and who ICE can arrest. And another thing that's also important, and it kind of goes back to the Supreme Court case a few weeks ago, this judge is not just recognizing the plaintiffs in front of her and their causes of action, but she's basically extending this to not only plaintiffs that aren't even plaintiffs, but even prospective plaintiffs that aren't even plaintiffs. So basically, she's totally overreaching. She's wrong on the substance. If this were to stand, it would basically give her the control over ICE, how and why, how they do their job, which is not not the law. That's not what the Constitution says. So everything about this is wrong. It really is another example of a lot of the overreach we've seen over the past, say, 6 months or so.
President Trump calls it a double standard, people calling for ICE agents to be unmasked. Listen to the president here.
And it's sort of funny when people picket in front of Columbia, in front of Harvard, and they have masks on. Nobody complains about that. But when a patriot who works for ICE or Border Patrol puts a mask on so that they won't recognize him and his family, there's a problem with that.
And you agree with the president's assessment there?
That is such a great point, because you have a lot of these I say protesters, but a lot of people that were in effect rioting on campuses and rioting other places. They use the mask to conceal their identity because they are committing crimes and don't want to be held accountable for it. Yeah, the irony is so profound here, and it is, again, your point. It's like, where's the standing up for law enforcement? That used to be a bipartisan issue. We should be protecting our law enforcement agents. They're already in enough danger doing the job they do when they have to interact with gang members and other criminals. They don't need politicians making their job not only harder, but making them less safe.
The former acting director of Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, Jonathan Fahey. Thank you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.